Hello, Brother Nashi, how are you? Can you please post my own story as hidden identity? So, my brother, my story, it goes on like this. I can say that when I look in my past, I think that life just directed me into becoming a ritualist, and there was no choice but for me to become a ritualist. I started when I was still back home. Like, my father, he had 2 wives, and I had my other auntie, who was my father's sister. And so my auntie was the one who had like a lot of money, and I heard that my mom was hated a lot by this auntie of ours, who was like the richest person in the family. So anyone that she hated, then it meant that the whole like family was going to turn against you. So my mom, when she passed away, no one in the family ever loved her. It then happened that my mom then passed away. When my mom passed away, then there was no one who could like take care of me but my auntie, the one that hated my mother. So I then went and I started working with my auntie. This auntie of mine, she was staying in the city. So she only took me, this I found when I started staying with her, not because out of love. She only took me to stay with her because she just wanted someone who could become her gardener. Because when I arrived in the city, she only fired her gardener after a month, and from the day that I started staying with her, she started telling me that I had to work with her gardener. And the way that I was working with her gardener, I clearly saw that this man, he was actually training me so that I can know everything about being a gardener. And soon after that, when my auntie saw that now I could do the work on my own, that was when my auntie fired her gardener. After my auntie had fired her gardener, I was left alone. Then I started working for her. Life was really difficult, my brother. My auntie could do whatever she wanted with me. She treated me so bad. And if she had only treated me bad, then I could have said that maybe she was someone who hated me. My auntie was someone that was not married. And her not being married, I found out that it was because of her rituals. And when she took me from the villages, bringing me to the city, this was part of the initiation ceremony that she wanted to do with me. Later on, I found out that I would wake up and I would not remember anything that would have happened the previous night. So I kept on thinking that maybe there was something that was wrong with me. But I later found out that my auntie was the one that was using some drugs. She was like drugging me. My auntie was a nurse there in Mutare, and each and every time when she would return back from work, she would always bring me a casket, that other juice that is there in our country. Each and every time when she would give me that casket, she would say that I should only drink it after keeping it in the fridge, and I had to drink it after, like, when we would have eaten and done stuff like that. And each and every time after drinking that fruit juice that my auntie would bring for me on a regular basis, then I would not remember anything. So when I started to plus 1 + 1, I then found out that my auntie was kind of like using me. But I didn't expect that my auntie was the one that I was sleeping with, because when I would wake up, I would notice that the feeling that I'll be having like in my body, I'll just feel like yesterday, the previous night, I would have slept with someone, even though I could not figure it out. And since my auntie was someone who had like, she was really grown up, I never expected that she would end up doing such a thing with me. One day, my brother, I think that the more that she gave me those drugs that she was putting in the juice that she would give me, I think that they were no longer enough for my body. My body was getting used to those drugs that she was putting in the juice. One day I woke up, and when I woke up, I found out that I was in bed, and my auntie, she was also in bed with me, but I was like drowsy. I could not move. I could not do anything. I could not even complain. Then my auntie was all over my body, touching me and sleeping with me. If she was only sleeping with me, then I would say that this was what she liked. But after my auntie had finished sleeping with me, I then saw her waking up. She woke up and I saw that there was a man that entered into her bedroom. I clearly saw that this man that entered into her bedroom was not a normal human being. There was something about that man that walked into that bedroom, because I felt like a terrible feeling came over my body. Then I started shaking out of fear, even though I could not even lift my finger because I was feeling like drunk. That man came into the bedroom, then came to where I was sleeping. I felt that man holding my manhood. Then that monster, or a tokoloshi, started sucking off my manhood, removing all of the semen that was all over my body. So that was what my auntie was doing. She would sleep with me until I would have reached a point whereby I would almost climax. Then she would get off from top of me. Then she would call in a tokoloshi so that a tokoloshi can finish off the job. This thing kept on happening over and over again until I became so sick. At that time, I had found a job, but my auntie didn't want me to work because she knew that I was the one that was making it possible to enjoy life. This auntie of mine, in her home, my brother, you would not even believe that this auntie of mine was just a regular nurse, because the way that she used to eat like her breakfast, it was a full breakfast, even supper, my brother. You would not even believe it that she was someone that was not getting paid a lot of money. It was like she was just taking money from somewhere else where no one could even understand. But anyways, my brother, this is what my auntie used to do with me. I then started going to the white garment churches. I know that out there are people that hate the white garment churches, but all that I want to say is that in my own case, before I had finally became a ritualist, the white garment churches, they assisted me a lot, because if it was not for that prophet who assisted me, I don't know what was going to happen to me. I then went to this other man who had just stopped me one day along the way, and he said, I want you to come to my church. So I ended up going to that man's church, and when I went to that man's church, he then prophesied, and he gave me a prophecy. In that prophecy, he told me that my auntie was the one that was using me, and I was supposed to do something about it, otherwise I was going to die, because my auntie was using me to sleep with one of her tokoloshis, the one that was giving her the money. And this was quite a dangerous thing for me, because this tokoloshi, the way that it was sleeping with me, it was going to end my life. So he gave me some charms to use. I then returned back home with those prayers that he had given me to use, and he directed me as to how I was supposed to use them. My brother, at my auntie's place, there was a sliding gate. The moment that I opened the sliding gate, I then found out that my auntie, she was waiting for me, and she was ready for war. She had already removed my clothes from the room in which she had given me to sleep in, and she had thrown them outside. And she told me that she didn't want me to enter into her yard. I asked her what was wrong, and she said, nothing is wrong. I do not want you in my yard anymore. That is how I found myself sleeping in the streets in our town of Mutare. Sleeping in the streets, my brother, I then found another man. This man was on his way going to South Africa. I spoke with him and I said, you are going to South Africa? And he said, yes. And I told him that I also wanted to go there, and I was an orphan. I didn't have anyone that could take care of me, and I didn't have any money at all. He said it is fine. He could assist me, and at least we could accompany each other. since he had a little bit of money, and along the way we were going to walk on foot. That is how I ended up coming to South Africa. We walked, my brother, for miles and miles whilst we were walking on foot until I had arrived at this other plot where they were actually hiring. At that plot, they were planting some cabbages as well as garlic. That is how I ended up working at that plot. I worked there for many years. On the salary, it was not a lot, and the man who was the owner of that plot, he used to beat his workers. If you would make a mistake, then he would beat you so badly, and this was just too much for me. I then decided to run away. When I ran away, I then met another man who also used me. This man acted as if he was going to give me a lot of money, but at the end of the day, this man never gave me anything at all. I was really desperate, my brother. That is how I got myself involved in this thing of witchcraft, because the thing that I asked myself was, if my auntie had the nerves to use me and there was no one who was willing to assist me, then it is far much better that I just joined her, because this thing, it seemed as if it was in the family already. So us coming from the area of Mutare, we had relatives across the border there in Mozambique. I spoke with some of my uncles who were already in Mozambique, and I told them that I needed something that could give me good luck. And one of my uncle, he advised against this thing that I was trying to do, and I was angry with him. I then spoke with one of my other uncles, but these uncles of mine, they are from my mother's side, and then said that if you have money, just travel and come here straight to Mozambique. So instead of going through Zim, I then came from South Africa going straight to Mozambique, and I met up with my mother's relatives. I was then taken to a traditional healer, and all that I had to do was to buy this uncle of mine a case of beers so that he can take me to that traditional healer that he knew very well to be someone that assisted people that wanted to become ritualist. When we arrived there, Brother Nashi, the rituals that I was made to perform, they were quite easy. There was this other, I don't know if I can say if it is an idol or what, because this thing seemed to be alive, and it had the representation of a woman's body, but it didn't have a head or legs, even arms. It was just there. The only thing that showed you that this represented a woman, it was the breast as well as the woman's private part, but it was made out of wood. I was told that it was going to be a painful process. I had to sleep with this statue, and when I was sleeping with that statue, the way that it was going to be painful, that is the way that I was going to enjoy my life. So I was then taken into that room whereby there was a wooden statue that represented a woman. Then I had to sleep with that wooden statue. I climbed on top of this other table that was made to look like a bed where there was that statue. And my brother, this statue, it is really smelly, because each and every man that had came to that traditional healer to do some money making rituals, then the man has to do the same thing that I did. So you can just imagine this thing, it is never cleaned up. So even when you are sleeping with that thing, as I was sleeping with that statue, I could actually smell that inside this statue there was a foul smell that was coming out. You know, when men leave their semen, it then gets so much smelly. That is what was happening at that time. Anyway, my brother, I then started sleeping with that wooden statue, and when I finally just produced, and when I removed my manhood from that wooden statue, I saw that my manhood, it had been damaged severely. There was blood all over the place. You can just imagine placing your manhood inside a wooden statue, and the traditional healer telling you to hit it very hard as if you are sleeping with a woman. You can just imagine that is what I was doing exactly at that time. After I had finished, he then rubbed some charms on my manhood so that my manhood could heal quickly because of the way that it was damaged. Even right now, I can't even get something like a full erection when it happens, I feel like I want to cry, because at that moment I felt like my manhood, it had been broken in half when that traditional healer was telling me to hit that statue very hard, as if this was a very beautiful, tasty woman. Then after that, my brother, that was when I was told that it was now time for me to make money. And what I had to do was that throughout my life, I was not supposed to get married to anyone. And I am only allowed to date women that are not above 30. I can only date women that are below 30. And by me dating these women that are below 30, I keep on pouring poison inside their wombs. The same poison that affected my manhood. That is the same way that these women that I sleep around with would be affected. As for them, it does not happen instantly. It can happen over time. So when I am sleeping with them, then that traditional healer's shrine will give me money. So that is how I ended up becoming a ritualist. Now, the point of my story, my brother, is that when I was suffering, I can say that I used to enjoy my life because I knew that I did not owe anyone my soul. Let me try to give you an example that you can understand. Let's say that you go to a bank, then you take out a loan, and you will be thinking that you will be able to pay back this loan. But it happens that at the end of the day, you lose any meaningful income that can help you to repay that bank loan. So that is the thing that happens when you become a ritualist. You live your life each and every day fearing that one day the bank is going to come and claim its loan from you. And by me, it is the devil, and I know that the devil one day, he is going to come and he is going to demand the soul that I owe him. What is going to happen to me afterwards, I do not even know. But I pray to God that before I die, I would have repented. Sometimes I feel that my heart, it totally becomes like stone, whereby I am not even afraid of God at all. I have come across some women that I can see that these women, they have a gift inside of them, but I then find it very difficult not to do these rituals on them. Those are the women that I particularly like. Why I do such a thing to these women that are gifted, I do not even know. If I found a woman that doesn't have a gift, yes, I can sleep with her just for the sake of performing the rituals, but it can be a one-day thing, then I forget about her. Those women that I sleep with maybe only once, those ones, they can survive. They can just have a little bit. Those women that I only sleep with as an once-off thing, they can suffer, but not for a very long time. But those ones that I pretend like I am in a relationship with them, those are the ones that can suffer from illnesses. Usually the illnesses will be a lot of unexplainable STIs, discharge that you do not even know where it came from. Then the end game is cancer, whereby they can tell you that your womb has to be removed. And I only target these women that can still give birth. The women that are below 30, those are the ones that I target, the ones that I know that there is hope for them to enter into marriages and have several children. They are the ones that are wanted by the traditional healer's shrine. The traditional healer who gave me these rituals, this was in 2014. He has since passed away. Hey, dear listeners, right there was a message that was forwarded to me. Then we had to give you this translation.